All right, everybody, and welcome back. We were supposed to. Oops, I gotta move over a little bit. How does? Okay, that looks okay. So, anyways, we're back. We were supposed to come up with a title name, Sant'Angelo, after the victory against Torino. Well, after a victory, it's supposed to be after Torino, and then we beat Monza, and then we beat
What if
Spurs.
we what if we just called it That Milan Podcast?
Is that a thing? Is that does someone else have that name? We have a comment already. So, it's Anthony. Anthony, how are you?
Sorry.
Appreciate you. Appreciate all your
What do you,
support
what do you
on every
guys
single
what do you guys
platform.
think? What do you guys think of calling it That Milan Podcast? In the comments if you guys like that. Because honestly, I'm not gonna try to have some flashy name. I don't have a name. I don't have something off the top of my head that I can put into this podcast. So if you like that and the people in the comments seem to agree, we'll just run with that and you get some updated graphics or whatever. But
Yeah, we'll have to
I like it.
upgrade the graphics again. Shout out to Luis Buga for getting these initial things in here. But anyways, it's been a little bit. We talked after Milan Monza, which was a nice victory to have. Obviously, opportunities left on the table. Within that one, Anthony says that Milan podcast is a good one. We have Sabrina in here as well. Sabrina, we have to get
Hey,
you on
Sabrina.
here soon. I didn't want to ask and feel like asking since you have a child now. So I don't know what your schedule is
Okay.
like. We'll have to figure that out, and you let me know what works best. You could have him on as well if you choose. But yeah, I mean, listen, this is a pretty good stretch of form. The play has not been incredible. I think we all know that. I think we can all recognize that. But as we know in this sport, we don't have to. You don't have to play great to get great results. And again, keeping pace for top four. And I think that's really just the main goal at this point. As long as it's on the weekend, she's good. Okay. Maybe tomorrow after the match, we'll figure something out. Ciao, lads. Glad to see you, Fatiero.
Yeah, Fatiero, man.
A
Good to see you, bud.
great Milan reports.
Day one. Day
Supporter,
one,
day
man.
one, always day one. Glad to see you in here as well. Follow this Twitch account if you have not already. Appreciate anyone who does. But again, Milan Atalanta, this is a big one, as we know. 1-1 draw previously back in August. It was a Benacer goal for that one. We'll get into the lineups. We'll get into some returning players, but overall, what is your view of the morale? I think morale is only increasing at this point. I don't think there's anything to disagree with that. Like to say like we're getting results, we're returning players for the most part, and especially one that we haven't seen in a fucking minute. Excuse my language, but my goodness. Well, it's not even. Well, Anthony, we could just Santangelo, I'll let you take it away. It's not even a possibility at this point. Pioli
He's playing.
basically
Really
confirmed
said
it.
it.
Mike Magnan is coming back. September 18th, the last time he has played for me. That's
Bro, it feels like an
incredible.
eternity.
That's incredible.
So
How
he's
long?
this probably 20 games, league games, give or take, assuming we played four games, 3 games at that point.
I have to look at his FUT mob for that to get you the exact appearances. But yes, that was the last time we saw him because it was international break ahead of the World Cup, and then we see what happens.
7 matches he's played in Serie A, which is crazy to think that he played that many because it doesn't feel like he did.
No, miserable, and that was the match against Napoli, by the way. So, yeah, we didn't have him for the majority of the group stage of the Champions League. We didn't even have him in the first leg against Spurs. We returned him last season. I think everybody can admit, top 2 player for Milan, next to Leao, in my opinion, especially with the performances that he delivered. Would you agree with that? And how massive is this? I'll get some comments up as well.
This is massive. I mean, without question. I know we've to your point, you feel like morale's in a good spot. We've had a good string of results. We've only conceded 1 goal in the last 4 in all competitions. I think it was the last time it was against Inter. And ironically enough, that's when we saw Malik Chow come in as a substitute. And then since then, he's played all 3 matches. And we've had 3 clean sheets, 1 against Torino, Tottenham, and of course against Monza, 3 victories, right? So I'm not saying it's literally down to Malik Chow, but I think, Tatarusanu has played a little bit better. The team itself has played a little bit better collectively. It seems as though that for whatever reason, we seem to can can turn a corner here. Pioli, we talked about it last week, right? Not necessarily on his own doing. It's almost as if he had to make choices, otherwise could potentially get sacked. So he was kind of backed into a corner. He made some changes back three. Combine that with the fact that we were able to bring in Fikayo Tomori back into that back three, which is huge, right? It's almost another addition. It feels like a January acquisition that we're getting with Magnon, with Tomori recently back, and then hopefully within a week, I think for Fiorentina, I think is what the news is saying for Benacer. So it feels like we're getting this new injection of quality. We're getting our full Milan squad back. And it couldn't have come at a better time, right? We have a good stretch of games here that are very difficult. The Champions League game against Tottenham, the second leg, is going to be massive, having these three guys back for that. But I think you're right. Morale seems to be in a better spot. I'm not going to completely say we're over the hump and the issues of the beginning of this year and early February are behind us, because I think a team like Atalanta can humble you. They can score goals. They have some good young talent up front, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But things are in a better spot right now. I think we're stringing together some results. If the worst is behind us, then okay.
I think so.
We move on and we build from here, and we try to cement ourselves as a top 4 team for next year.
Yeah, and again, it's crazy how fast things can turn around, because it looked kind of bleak. 2 up against Roma, drop that, then it was really awful for 4 to 5 weeks. Funnily enough, it's when I start doing more Milan content. I feel like I'm just a curse every time, because the time I specifically took off from doing Milan content, we won the title. We did end up winning on getting top 4, which was a massive boost. But it just feels like bad luck all the time. But having this guy back is just everything. And it just really is, because the points that were dropped in certain matches, defensive organization, like, we're adding this on top of a defense that was already building up confidence. When you have Chow, when you have Tomori, when you have Kalulu playing the way that they've been playing, and it's been a rotating door on the right wing back position, and rightfully so, because I don't think anyone deserves it. Kudos to Macias for stepping up and scoring his goal, but you saw as to why.
Played okay too.
Yeah, he played okay too, like good defensively, but
it says a lot about Calabria, though, doesn't it?
Oh, well,
because that's their captain, right?
Well, what my sentiments are of him and what they've been.
I'm just saying, I think it's, look, we know, and this is a conversation to be had too, right? Because Davide Calabria is the captain. When you get to this situation where you're benching the captain in favor of 2 makeshift wingbacks in Salamakers and Macias, you can make the argument based on what Salamakers can do and can't do offensively. He is more suited to play in this wingback role. And, various people on Milan Twitter have said this for a while. Like, he doesn't bring anything from an attacking output that we could put to numbers, goals, and assists, but he has a great work rate. He tracks back. He does a lot of other things that are tough to measure. So maybe Salamakers in this sort of hybrid, like right wing back role works for him. But I think it's very interesting with Calabria, because Florenzi, what's going to happen with him? Does he come back? Does he cement himself as the wing back? We know what he can do as a wing back.
He was training regularly this week, by the way, in case people didn't know.
And Florenzi, look, when healthy, he did some good things last year in his first season. He's done some good things for Italy as a wing back and more of a wide player, right? As a right back. So, now when you're getting all these guys back, it's almost like there's like a sigh of relief, because now we have some options. We have some options that we can maybe go to that are fresh, that give the opposition a different look. But this Calabria thing is an interesting thing, because I think Pioli's showing with Malik Chow and maybe some of the others in this team, Macias playing last week, getting a goal, the winner, that he's not afraid to maybe go against the grain and say, hey, I can bench my captain. I need wins.
Like, Romagnoli.
Win. Right. So, and I think, looks as though we could pull up the projected 11. I don't know if you have handy, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to get it just in a second. So just keep finishing your thought, and I'll have this up.
So I think it's, it's all hands on deck. He's going to have to make difficult decisions sometimes, where it's, not always going to be liked by the fan base, and it's understandable. Everyone's been talking about it's Brahim projected to start, not CDK, and it's like, you kind of juggle the two, and it's like, yeah, Brahim hasn't played that well himself to maybe warrant like a
But
surefire
neither
start,
has CDK.
but neither CDK, right? So it's almost as if you're going for the player that's like, who's more adapted, and by all means, it's Brahim. He's been here for the better part of 3 seasons.
Yeah, yeah,
He knows
I
what
agree.
to do in Pioli's system. He's had some moments. I thought last game, I know we kind of were a little bit differing on him and how he played, but I thought he did some things well running into space. He had a lot of fouls against him. So, yeah, you guys can see in the comments the lineup that we have projected here. I think it's according to Sky. It looks like their graphic. But
Correct. Yeah.
what do you think of this, Martino?
So it's just, I mean, it's really just the same sort of lineup, and I'm fine with it. We see Macias get the start again. Obviously, Benacer's not back. Krunic deservedly gets his start, and then you have Diaz as well. Listen, I'm a big advocate of CDK. For a match like this, you have to start Brahim. You have to start the guys that you trust with and are more reliable and consistent over the course of time. I think CDK is clearly improving. Pioli's comments have reflected that. He said, I've never seen him so motivated since he's arrived. You get that sense from him, and that's okay. And sometimes that's a good thing when you bench a player when he's motivated, because that means there's even a bigger fire lit underneath him than there was before. We've
Especially
seen it
how close he was to scoring too.
Exactly. And what we see with Liao, it's the way you carry yourself. It matters. Okay. I'm having a brain fart on the body language. Sorry. Body language is very important in this. You see the way CDK was coming on against the Salernitana. Really good appearance. Unfortunately, too hesitant on one chance that prevented him from scoring his first goal. But you saw the body language. He was very disappointed in himself. It wasn't the type of high confidence that you see. What happened against Monza when he missed that? I think it was pretty much unlucky, in my opinion. I don't really think that was much on him. We saw multiple angles of it, but being visibly frustrated to me is a better sign than anything. I want you angry. I don't want you depressed. I think there's two different things, and that's definitely important. And for me, again, I get Brahim Diaz starting in this. I don't dislike Brahim, but I do think he has so many obvious flaws that he has not fixed.
Yeah.
It frustrates me because it's been year 3. There's an option for 22 million on the table. It's not going to be purchased. There's certain things that he's done well, and I do like his certain aspects of him, but losing ground duels, losing the ball often, drawing fouls is great. When he's in space, he's a tremendous player for us. I think he brings a lot of energy. He brings that type of press that you need. And CDK doesn't necessarily always have that. He seems a little disorganized because pressing, some people just think you run to what's in front of you. Pressing is an actual system. Okay.
Yeah.
You
have
have
the guys that commit to it up
Exactly.
front. Otherwise, it's going to be dragging and out.
I run, I cover one area of space. That means the guys behind me have to fill in that other space. That's what that means.
Yeah.
If he's not understanding that, if he's not fully committed to that, then the whole team suffers. Hence why he doesn't start. You have to do things so much better on a day-to-day basis than these other players in order to warrant a start. And he hasn't essentially done that. And that's okay. And we've kind of seen that over the course of Pioli's tenure, where you're not getting guys starting like that. We saw this with Liao all the time. We were on with Milan Reports. We did it on multiple other podcasts, Soccer Showdown as well. We understood where Pioli's coming from in these scenarios in which Liao, you see the flashes, but is he doing enough in terms of work rate outside of not finishing chances to warrant a start? He wasn't creating as much. He wasn't scoring. So Pioli's faced with this decision. Do I start Ante Rebic on the left wing, who's giving me press? He's scoring in bunches. Why would I make this decision to put Liao in, even if he's arguably more talented? It's about results, and the results are happening. And for us, we said it. It took way too long for Pioli to make these decisions, but better late than never. We see it now.
Real quick, too, I think real quick on the topic of Brahim and CDK in this, and I think more so specifically with CDK because it's a hot topic for the fee and all the reasons we've come to mention, right? I think it's also interesting too how with Ibrahimovic back in training, and again, people can make of this what they will, but I know you brought this to me, Martino, I think before the last game, having CDK's jersey next to Ibrahimovic in the graphic that AC Milan put out, combined with the fact that after CDK didn't score the goal against Monza, Leao, you can see is that because I think Leao has been in that situation before. Leao kind of has always been kind of coming to him and saying like, your goal's gonna come, like just keep that head up. Because I think Leao is understanding too that he arrived as a top prospect, an expensive attacking signing, had some difficulty adapting, had some difficulty with consistency. So I think Leao is as more, dare I say, more one of the more experienced players in this team, which is crazy because he's very young, but he's on his third, fourth season here. He understands what it's like to be in CDK's spot.
Yeah.
So you could kind of get the sense that he's kind of given that arm around the shoulder type feeling. Maybe that what we saw with Ibrahimovic would always give like Leao and some of the younger players. And I think Leao is starting to develop in that sense. He knows he's very gifted. He's always very talented. But I think if you want to get to the next level, it's what else can you bring to help support the others around you. And I think that's what I start to see with Leao on social media, but also on the field in certain instances where he's kind of come to console GDK, who is going through a difficult spot still.
Yeah, because think about it. When you turn around and look, when you're on the pitch at this point, if you're Rafael Leao, outside of Giroud and Teo Hernandez, you're
not a lot of creativity.
Well, it's not the creativity thing. I'm actually piggybacking on this leadership part because I think it's very important. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Who's he turning to and saying, yeah, take us there, or you're the point of reference? That's him now. And I think that's a level of adjustment he has to make because he really did burst on into that as an MVP, right? There was flashes, season, scoring the fastest goal against Sassuolo, really finishing strong in the second half of the season, really good performance against Atalanta. You see a good but inconsistent performances in the UCL and the matches in the fall last year. And then 2022 hits, and it's like he throws a right haymaker in your face, and he's like, I'm here, Serie A. And this is the type of player we see. He still needs to improve. You see it in his story post, as you mentioned. Some stuff are cryptic, some stuff are not. When we'll have the episode published with Cristiano Oliveira that we have for the State of Play, he was making these great points as well. Like, Rafa loves and understands me. He gets it. Okay? Whether or not he extends is a totally different story. But he knows even if he were to extend at Milan or he goes elsewhere, he needs to be a point of reference.
Right.
Because this guy, we all know it. He scores 20 goals in a season. He's a top 10 in the Ballon d'Or. I'm sorry. It's true. Like, think about it. If Leao makes a significant impact now, okay, and Milan finish top 4 in Serie A, they're not going to win the Scudetto, obviously. But say they make a deep run in the UCL and his numbers are there, we're talking about a player who's finishing top 20 in the Ballon d'Or probably.
Yeah.
There's a significant argument for that. It's going to be very hard to argue against it. I thought he's still been playing great. His finishing is off, but the guy's creating.
Yeah.
His teammates are not doing their job.
Of chances. I think it's you look to your star players in delicate moments of the season, and people said, oh, he hasn't scored this goal or that hasn't had an assist or whatever in this many games. But I think, people still forget. I guess he's an MVP because he's an MVP now and he's this hot commodity that now everyone's going to hold you to a different standard, right? So, next year, if Kvaratskhelia is having 6, 7, 8 games in a row where he doesn't get a goal or an assist and Napoli struggle, people are going to say, well, is this guy a one-hit wonder? Is he a one-season wonder? And this is the expectation, the pressure that comes with being a top player and this is always something I try to emphasize and lay a lot of importance on, is longevity matters, right? Like, everyone could have that explosive breakout season. Like, there's people that have that's happened so many times before. But if you don't do it over a long period of time, you become a forgotten man. And people can cast you away and they can bring somebody else in who's the new kid on the block, the new big star on the block. So I think Rafael Leao, in that sense, I think understands, and he's a bit more mature this year because now he's like, hey, I placed very highly in the Ballon d'Or this year. I won the MVP. I'm
2 goals in the World Cup.
I'm the name on every big club's transfer list. I'm the main guy, right? So with all that becomes more pressure, but also more responsibility. And I agree with you. I think, he is at Milan. We don't know what his future looks like with regards to the renewal, but he gets Milan. He gets Milan. You can sense it. The fact that he's been, in many ways vocal about, the whole contract situation, how it's been handled in kind of
It's
displayed in
a
the media.
significant responsibility.
Yeah,
You can't even fathom it at his age. He's
yeah,
just 23. So just in comparison, just real quick, just to talk about last year, 11 goals, 10 assists within Serie A. We knew he did the double there. That was in 2,600 minutes. So far through 1,600 minutes, minutes played is more important than appearances. Remember that. Okay. 8 goals, 6 assists. So he's only 3 goals off, but he's 4 assists off, but he should already have over 10 assists the
yeah,
way he's been playing. And he's still been a fantastic dribbler as well. And again, what I wanted to see from him was more consistency and stepping up in the bigger of matches. He's done that this season. He's played well against Juve. He's done well against Inter in the Derby as well. I think he gets too much trash whenever they end up losing or struggling because Teo Hernandez has fallen off this season a little bit. Every other player around him is not playing as well, in my opinion. I want your thoughts real quick and everybody in the chat. Sandro Tonali. Um, I think he's gassed, bro. I think he's very tired. I think he
yeah,
played well actually against Spurs. I thought it was a good performance. I
yeah.
think people are
I thought
really
that was
harping
yeah,
on him way too much. The match against Monza, mediocre. Torino match, actually pretty solid if you look at the numbers. But it's not the best version of Tonali or the
no,
version that we hope for. But he's done great with set pieces as well. He's still a good creative player. We know if Tonali
he's a
is
step
box to
behind.
box closer to goal, Tonali is a better player. This system does not suit him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right now he's a little like a step behind. What a lot of what we're seeing from Sandro Tonali recently, he's better than he was in his first season. Make no mistake about it. But a lot of the flaws that he had in his first season and the struggles he had coming into this side, you're starting to see like that. He looks like he's just like a little bit slower, and it's not down to his preparation. It's more so down to the fact that it's been a revolving door in that midfield. It's been Krunic, it's been Benacer,
So Benacer's missed time now. The
it's been
manager doesn't
Pobega.
trust.
It's been a three-man midfield. It's been a
Yeah,
two-man midfield.
yeah,
It's been a whole bunch. So with the responsibility again, similar to what we're saying with Leao, right? Sandro Tonali is a Scudetto winner for his boyhood club Milan. So now the pressure and expectation becomes that much more heightened. So
yeah.
when he has a rough moment, people are going to say, "Hey, he's this, he's that." I think what we've seen in this midfield and how it's been really overrun, and Sandro Tonali seems like he's kind of running on fumes at certain points as the
Yes.
matches progress. I think it really cast a big bright light on how important Benacer is to this team, and we're hopefully getting him back soon for Fiorentina. That's what the
Yeah.
reports are saying. But
Mhm.
I think it's telling what Sandro Tonali's comments were in the media some months ago, where all the talk was about the Rafael Leao renewal. But before Benacer got renewed, everyone was like, make no mistake about it. Like Benacer is very important to this team. He's just as important to this team
It's our
as
second
Leao
best
is.
player, in my opinion.
So the things that Benacer can do is that shiftiness, the ability to operate within small spaces and get out of trouble and progress the ball and cover some ground to help support Tonali. Them two work so well together that when he comes back, I think you're going to start to see Tonali go back to the levels that we saw, late last year, where he's scoring goals. He's got that little bit of burst, that little bit of extra in him towards the tail end of matches to
Yeah.
help close games out. I think we're
Yeah.
going to start to see that. And, again, as I mentioned off the top, Martino, combined with Magnon coming back, Tomori coming back a little recently as well, I think this is such a good time to get these reinforcements, because I think this is where you want your team healthy. This is where you want to make that push to cement yourself. And we haven't even talked about Ibrahimovic, who didn't appear versus Monza. He was on the bench.
Same
This they might
Torino.
call
Yeah.
for him to play a little bit, right? Because Giroud has been overworked. We're talking about overworked players. Who's been more overworked than Giroud? And you also have to consider the fact of his
Relative
age
to age.
and
Yeah.
coming from the
Relative
World
to
Cup,
age.
where he played a
Yeah.
lot and he started
Yeah.
every game.
And you've had a great
So
World Cup. Yeah.
we need to get Ibrahimovic back too, at least to play certain matches where even if he can play 60 minutes, because we don't know if he has a full 90 back-to-back to games here. But if you
Mhm.
can get Ibrahimovic back and he can play 65 minutes in a game, and you can bring on a Rebic or you can bring on a Giroud to play 25 to 30, then you kind of keep everyone fresh. There's a little bit of a healthy rotation there where you get the second win going into the back end of the season.
Yeah, and it just disappoints you. Just real quick, there's 2 points before we move on and talk about the Atalanta side of things. So 2 things. Tonali has played central midfielder and defensive midfielder for Milan over the course of 79 matches. in 67 matches as a defensive midfielder, Tonali has 3 goals and 3 assists. Tonali has played 12 matches as a regular central midfielder, where he's closer to goal, more box-to-box. He has 4 goals and 4 assists. 55 less appearances, but 1 more goal and 1 more assist.
Yeah, his goal output and his.
I mean, he's super dynamic if you put him in the right position.
Yeah.
Which also beckons the question now for my second point. Astor Franks, Yassine Adli. Okay, I was sitting about this. I was thinking this. I didn't want to send you a 5-minute audio, so I didn't. I elected not to. You're welcome. But what I was thinking was, and I think everybody knows this for the most part, but there really was not a Kessie replacement. An immediate Kessie replacement does not exist. Okay, you talk about from last season to this, what is the difference between the two squads, right? And not having a Frank Kessie, okay, that could play that amount of minutes, the consistency, the reliability, and his skill set, it's absent. Krunic, decent player, but we're really just having the same Krunic that we had last season, which is not bad as a 4th or 5th midfielder. But we have Pobega, we have Adli, and we have Franks, all of which don't get two of the ones that I named don't get minutes, and the other Pobega doesn't really fit in this system, who I think is gone this summer, potentially. As far as Adli and Franks go, I mean, come on, like we can't even see anything. We don't have any 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. I know we're finding minutes for CDK, but like I struggle to find the reasoning behind it. Because if you know you're suffering and you've seen other players that you've had step up, just something, a little bit of effort to put these guys in. You have to make a decision on Franks. It kind of just seems like a lost season for him at this point, which is really disappointing because I do like him. I think this is going to be something we'll regret.
Adli
and then
more so than Franks, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So do this Adli thing, because this whole situation is ridiculous. Because at first you hear last June, I know we keep kind of beating a dead horse with this, but we mentioned this. Adli comes in. Pioli's not convinced by reports in the summer. Come June time, he comes in, dominates, best player in the preseason. I think everybody agrees to that. Doesn't see any minutes. Hasn't seen any minutes since the fall. Has not gotten any minutes in 2023. Why?
Look, it's weird too, right? Because for all the reasons you mentioned, the guy I had the opportunity in the summer, and usually if you're on the fringe of getting minutes and you're kind of on the outside looking in down the depth chart when it comes to the midfield options, how is this guy at least getting some sort of nod? Also, with Benacer being out, how is Franks and Adli not getting a little bit of burn?
I mean, to give Tonali rest, right?
You would think. I mean, I know there's certain matches that call for certain squads, and every match is important. I get that. But I'm just going to read you a couple stats here, right? So Yassine Adli's made 4 appearances in Serie A this year, and he only has 114 minutes played. Astor Franks, right? We're going to go. I'm doing this in real time here. 7 appearances. He has 70 minutes played. So 7 appearances, 70 minutes. 7 appearances. Again, I'm going to say it again. 7 appearances. Between the two, we have almost basically 200 minutes of activity.
And the last appearance was the last appearance against Roma, right?
This is also too. Yeah, I believe that was the one. This is also a player that we spent up a summer early from Bordeaux for 10 million. This wasn't some 500K operation where, or like a Lasicic situation where he's a young prospect, 5 million. This is more of a couple year thing versus like an immediate. Like we spent, if you want to put into these terms, we spent 1/5 of what we spent last summer on players on Adli the year before. 10 million. This isn't a club that spends 200, 300K or 300 million, and then you have a 10 million acquisition and he doesn't play. Then at that point, you could be a little bit surprised because there's a lot of competition. We spent a significant sum relative to what we do typically spend on a player, and he gets 100 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't quite know. I don't know if we'll ever quite know, because these things sometimes get, kind of masked.
Swept under the rug, yeah.
Swept under the rug. He's probably going to get loaned. He might get like a loan with an option to buy somewhere, I can see. That's a weird one. I still don't quite understand what we're doing there with him, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know where at any point this season, all of a sudden, oh yeah, Adley's gonna play. We're 24 games in,
Yeah,
23 games in. Like, there's usually a point in the season where, like we saw with Malik Chow, right?
yeah.
First player had some good moments, and then it was like, now he's in. Now he's in the team. Now he's a starter.
Because
Pioli even said it.
he had to.
But Pioli even said it. He's seen some good things, but he was waiting for he wanted to see a little bit more to Malik Chow before he went out there and played him consistently. And now we're seeing it 20 something games in. We're not going to get that moment for Adley. I don't see that. I don't see where it is, especially when you have Benacer coming back. You have all these players coming back. So that one's really tricky for me. The Oscar Franks one, not so much, because they did have an option, and the option is more like just for the formula itself. 12 million option. I mean, unless the guy was going to start games and he was going to play a very, very good amount of matches for Milan, it was hard for Milan to rationalize spending 12 million on a young player. In my opinion, I was kind of like, oh, this might be a good player here. But unless the guy's going to play a lot to really showcase what he's capable of, are you going to spend 12 million on a guy who only has 70 minutes? So
and they're not going to be able to work down the option because you had, and it's supposed to be 20 appearances. I think there was enough there to warrant that. I think this is just really reflective of Stefano Pioli. And then again, with the Adley thing is like, why not loan him in January? Okay, why couldn't we just?
He wants to have names just to be safe, but
to be safe for what? We already went through the biggest injury crisis,
yeah,
especially with the midfield. So what are we doing here?
I don't know.
And then again, you didn't even mention this part. Who played over the weekend? That got minutes.
Oh, Bakayoko. Yeah. A guy that was basically had moved to 3 separate clubs in January.
But isn't that bizarre? I
don't get it.
Listen. If we want to talk about tactics, it makes sense. He's a defensive midfielder.
It's just
he would fit into.
Given where he was in this entire equation, like, it was pretty obvious that, like, oh no, he's literally not even in our
more transfer requests rejected than appearances.
Like 3-4. Like, he was like, Bakayoko, you can leave. Like, we're not keeping that. We're not going to have the option exercised.
By the way, highest paid midfielder on the team.
Hey, I listen to in his defense. I can't blame him.
I don't blame him, but I don't blame him, but. My thing is like, does that hold out hope for like another player? Maybe. I think Pioli is just very bizarre in how he develops players. He's not necessarily terrible at it. I think he's actually pretty decent, because almost every single time a young kid comes in and plays with this team,
the pathway to players getting real time it's weird to me.
It's by force.
Like the track to get to like a Malik Chow situation, it's not like, I know those sorts of paths to the starting 11 are not linear, right? You're going to have sprinklings of appearances. You're going to play here and there, not against a big team, more in a comfort environment, maybe at home against a smaller, more provincial side. I get that. But when you have guys like Pobega and Krunic, and I'm like we can't see Vronks at least a little bit, like for 50 minutes, 60 minutes.
I understood not playing Vronks after the Roma match because that was horrendous. It was horrendous from him. It was a really bad appearance, and you can't play too long after that. But also at the same time, I think man management is very important, into which you say, how long am I going to sit him out? There's a difference between punishment, trying to learn, and then can you grow from it on the pitch? How much am I destroying this guy's confidence? Do I want to destroy his confidence? Listen, I am a huge Boston Celtics fan. I think everybody knows this. And examples that I would use is when this team that's currently contending for an NBA title year in, year out now had young players like Jaylen Brown didn't even start for a couple of seasons. Okay. He didn't earn that starting position. There were stretches during games where Jaylen Brown is sitting and we have players that are not even in the NBA anymore getting minutes over him. Okay. Yeah. Tougher league, a little bit different than what you would want to compare because there's just mainly the one big league. But sometimes that happens. But I think what people are fed up with is we were ahead of schedule and won a title, and now people are just like demanding more. And shout out to Janko Barak. I'm drawing a blank on his actual name. Oh my goodness, Lujo. Fuck, I fucked it up. Either way, his point was, when are we going to see a signing that's a guy that's now? That's like Magnan was. I don't want to see any more of this 21-year-old
Project
stuff.
players, like
I don't
ready-made,
want
ready to
to.
go. Insert them into the 11 right now.
I don't want to see any more of this Zlatan Giroud. I love it. I think you could get those guys in to round out the squad. I think that's okay. But I want a guy. I want a guy that's proven.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait anymore. I'm a Milan fan. If we're going to the quarterfinals right now, okay, a very strong possibility of the Champions League. And again, if the draw does go well, there's a path to the semifinals. We gotta have that. But let's talk on the Atalanta side of things, and then we'll round it out with prediction. And then you guys just give us your predictions in the comments. But Atalanta's in pretty good form. They're going to be missing some players, as Fatiero mentioned. Let me try and find. I just had it. Their expected lineup tomorrow for this match, which is obviously, I mean, it's so massive. Almost every single time we play them, it's always a great one.
I see Foot Mop 3-4-1-2. Musso, Aloy, Jimitsi. Probably said that wrong. Scalvini. Jim City. Scalvini, good defensive prospect.
He's probably going to go to Inter, fucking Juve.
Zappacosta, Darun, Ederson. I actually like Ederson too. Male, Coop Miners, who's had a good season, does a little bit of everything in that number 10 role.
I love him.
Lookman and Hoyland, who's the hot guy right now for them. I think he's back-to-back games.
Yep.
Really
good. One of the faster players in our.
They spent quite a bit on him. I was actually doing some research on his kind of path to Atalanta. As expected, they kind of got him from the Austrian Bundesliga, I think, for pretty significant amount.
17 million euro.
I think this is a trap for Milan. If I'm being honest, I don't think Sharma. I don't think. Well, so shout out to Sharma. He does fantastic.
Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Matt and I have appeared on there a bunch.
He's our rival in club, but he's not a rival. He's a really good guy, really good producer of content. So go support his channel. I just think this is kind of a little bit of a trap situation. If I'm being honest, if Milan are going to get a forward player, just don't go to Atalanta, because this speaks and oozes 40 million to them, and she struggles, and then we loan him out like a Piontek Silva type.
There's so much potential with him. But Milan's not in the position yet again to put 40 to 50 million on a player like Hoyland, who's only 19 years of age, who's had a surgence over the past few weeks, and he's been talented. We've seen it, but there's just not enough there for me to say, yes, this is the guy I want to splurge 40 to 50 million on. Also, again, the same age range. This is the funny thing that Milan's doing. It's we just bought Lasetic around the same age. It was much cheaper, obviously. It was 12 million less, and we've loaned him out. We'll see what happens. Klosa is going to be working with him, so that's a great person to learn from. But you're sitting there and saying, what is your striker situation for next season? Zlatan probably gone. Didn't really have him this season. We have Giroud. Can't rely on Giroud like that. Origi's been a disaster as well. 40 to 50 million on Hoyland is just not. It's just you just don't do that, and it's not worth that money for Milan at this point. I think what Milan have to do is get a guy. You have to pounce on a guy that's like Kolo Muani was this past summer, and get ahead of the game. A little bit further along in the development phase.
24, 25 years old.
Exactly.
Something like that.
And again, strikers are very similar to defenders in the age over time. They're like Duvan Zapata, one of the players who's not going to be in this game.
27, 28 was his peak.
One of the best examples, right, of this guy resurging his career. So again, Zapata, by the way, we should talk about these injuries real quick. Zapata, Hatabauer, Pasalic, and Demiral all missing for Atalanta. Massive for Milan. Listen, I think we could beat them. We drew 1-1 against them. Lookman's been, in my opinion, the second best signing in Serie A. You get him from 12 million euro from RB Leipzig. I think it's him, Kabara, and Kim Min-jae have been home runs Just
Yeah.
you can't find better signings than that. Even Hoyland, I think, is probably going to finish up there towards the end of the season. Just really terrific. I think our midfield matchup, I think it benefits us. Coop Miners is one of these guys I want so bad, dude. I can't lie. I would love Coop Miners if I were to, but
I
if
just
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
don't. I don't know. There's like a weird feeling about always buying players from like rival clubs. Like I know people said the same thing about like when Milan were linked with Berardi. Like, oh, we should maybe go after him. Like, he would be a great. We need a right winger, and I'm like, I always get a little bit skeptical because I know how system based and system generated a lot of these players can be, especially with Atalanta. And this is no discredit, by the way, to Hoyland and Lookman and you know Boga and all the players that have come and gone and passed through that team and that academy, because they do a great job of not only casting a wider net and finding players around Europe that work at a fraction of the cost that other clubs are paying for players,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems as though it's almost one of those, like, you get him in there, he has this little burst, and then they know exactly when to sell him. And it's 40, 50 million. And now all of a sudden the player struggles somewhere else. And it's like the system works so well that they can kind of just plug and play the next guy in there and they can move forward with it. You mentioned it, Hoyland, like there's a good chance he'll end the season with double-digit goals, 11 goals, maybe 3 assists. I think he's got 6 and 1 on the season. I think he's averaging a goal every 170 minutes, give or take. So between some of the more recent appearances for him and the fact that now every point and every result is more crucial because Atalanta are in that conversation for top 4, this
Mm-hmm.
guy's going to get a lot of opportunity. And with that opportunity, a big showcasing to see where is this guy really headed? How good can he really be? We've seen
Yeah.
moments so far that speak to the fact that he's a really good prospect. But to kind of wrap that up on Sharma's point, I don't think he's Milan material in that sense. The fee's going to be steep, and I think we don't need another young player that we have to wait like 2 to 3 years to see like what he could really be. Milan need to put in a striker forward player that's a couple years under his belt, has some consistency in goal scoring, doesn't have to be a world beater, but someone who has shown you he could put 12 to 15 goals in a season.
Mm.
Like, not saying this is the same player, but when we got Carlos Baca, I think the first season he had 18 to 20 goals.
Correct.
Second season, I think he had like 12 to 14. Like, that's the type of player we need. And then you can put in the Lasitiches, you can get your Giroud contributions, and so on and so
I
forth.
agree, Anthony. Yeah, and then just Marco Lasetic, Colombo. I think one of the
Colombo too.
guys ends up
Yeah.
staying next season, or one of them will be sold. Probably Colombo if it's a player to be sold. I think Lasetic again is more of a project. I was seeing this when I was talking on Sempre Milan. It was pretty funny. You'll love this because this is right up my alley. Anytime I post anything on social media, so just showing the comparison and growth of how great the signings have been for Milan and how
Yeah.
much their transfer value has gone up. I'm sure you've seen the video.
Yeah.
And so someone goes to me, yeah, but what about Dest? What about what about Lasetic? What about Origi and Balotore? I'm like, well, first of all, a couple of them are loans and low
Paul Torre
cost
is costing
players.
what, 3 million?
Like Balotore,
He's a backup left back.
all those players that you talked about that I
Yeah.
listed there, all of them combined did not cost over 10 million.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting loans in.
Well,
You tried something, and
that's
I know.
classic Milan fans, like, and they'll do this no matter what. Like, they can hit on 7 to 8 players, but the 1 or 2 they don't hit on out of the combined 10, they
That's what I
latch
said.
onto those 2. See, they didn't play on this comic. Yeah, but Teo,
What
Leao,
what is Lasetic supposed to do? Everybody, that's the funny thing with some of these
yeah,
signings. I feel like people are under this thought of
they have this illusion
anyone
that
who signs for Milan has to be a star and immediately, and it's
like
like
right
that's
now,
just
yeah.
like it's just like not true. And like also like where have you been the past 3 years? That makes you think that's the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
best player on this team did not have a great first season. Sorry,
yeah.
there was a flaw in literally everybody but Mike Magnan.
And he's 20, was
20
26,
he joined when he was 26.
right. Yeah.
Like what do you want from me?
Yeah.
you know? All right, so prediction time. Everybody list down what you guys think. I'm going to look up really quick how Marco Lasetic is doing. So many great guys to follow. Scout 7 on Milan Twitter is a great one. I always retweet his work. Hugo Cuenca scored yesterday for Milan, or the other day, I believe it was. So Paraguayan did that. So 2 appearances so far for Lacetic. How many minutes has he gotten? He has 49 minutes so far. I love how he has 8 minutes in Serie A and he got a yellow card because of that fight he was in. But anyways, I do like Lacetic long term. I think he just needs to learn at the
Flown to Serie A
physical
would probably do
level.
him well. I
He's
could see him
gotta,
Serie A
he's
start.
gotta, man, he's gotta. So anyways, 2-0 win for Milan. I don't think
I'm
we
going
can
to
see it
one.
again.
Going to
2-1.
one.
Are
Yeah.
you a little nervous about Magnan being back in? Maybe some
No,
rustiness, shaky, maybe a
no.
mistake?
I
No?
think his mentality, his leadership, his command of his goal. I
Uh,
think he's going to have such an impact, and I think he's actually chomping at the bit because of all the talk about Tatarusanu, how long Magnon has been out. He missed the World Cup. He's been waiting to come back to this team, and he's seen the struggles. And there's nothing more that eats away at you than when you have an injury and you see your team struggling. You're like, I want to help so bad, but I can't. The fact
yeah.
that he's coming back now for such a very important match and a very important part of the season, and he's going to be back for the Champions League game, that's huge. I think he's going to come back. I think we're going to see the Magnon we all come to know, top keeper, Serie A goalkeeper of the year last year. I'm very, very pleased. I just think the one goal is going to somehow bleed. I got to give credit to the fact that Atalanta score against anybody, no matter how good they're doing defensively. So that's really kind of what's kind of playing into that one goal. But I think Milan at home, I think we're going to do the job. And I think Leao is actually going to score a goal, and he's going to break his 6 or 7 game streak without a goal or assist.
He hasn't scored since Salernitana, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I think he's due. I think Leao's going to get a goal. I don't know who else is going to get the other one, but I think 2-1 Milan.
Happy birthday, Gianluigi Donnarumma. So shout out to the 2016 Super Cup.
Also, wearing the goalkeeper kit for the podcast. It's uncustomized, but we got to show love to Mike Magnon coming back. So
Is that the one I got you for your birthday?
Right? It is, man. It is.
I forgot about
it. Yeah, so I think this year it's love.
So long ago.
I love this, like brandy wine color.
How is it though? Yeah, you like it?
Nice,
Okay. Wait, real quick then. What are we thinking here? We have to do.
New
I know we got in it for
right?
Yeah. You knew exactly where I was headed with it. What, you don't like? You're not
it.
a fan? Oh, you do? Okay, so I think this picture is very funny. So let me just get this up real quick. Chicho the clown, as you call. Oh, come on, Anthony. I don't mind Chicho as much. So here we go. New kit. I think it looks great.
Nice.
Like I said, I haven't spent money on them this year.
I spent too much on
I don't know.
jerseys this year.
This was a gift.
Home authentic Tonali with all the patches. I balled out. Scudetto stuff, right? I got the Giroud third, the green one.
Okay.
I got away Teo.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like,
oh my god, you did Spurs, and then you got that just as a gift, right? So
yeah, I bought like the Milan college hoodie too.
Oh
I went nuts, man. This is like, I don't really buy Vikings or any other sports gear, so like when I go dummy on Milan gear,
Vikings have sick gear though, dude. I don't know why
they do, but I'm not like I don't know, like
you don't even have a Joel Embiid jersey.
No, I don't like this. I like the Sixers, but I'm not like so devout to them where it's comparable to my love for Milan. But yeah, this is a nice shirt. I know people saying like, oh, they don't like it, whatever. But I don't have one of these types of jerseys where it's like also a high fashion item. It seems like it's more of like, hey, like there's a collab with like a high fashion brand. I don't know too much about the brand that they're kind of partnered with, but the nice too.
Right? That's what I'm kind of like.
My brother Nick sent me the He sent me this. He's like, man, dude, like, come on, this is so nice. Like, look at this. Nice this black with the gold.
This one I love.
Dude, the gear is just on point, man. Like
nice.
You think how much Milan gear I'm buying and how much Milan gear the wider fan base buys that we would be able to get some sort of winger in there. I'm like, dude, like I'm doing my part. I'm doing my civic duty to help Milan's.
I don't know. My brother, like I said, my brother went to Italy. He got me the Ibrahimovic authentic kit of the home kit this season, so I didn't spend that. I got this as a gift. Yeah. I got the Florenzi stuff. I got a Milan, but I got so much free stuff this year. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. If I get a couple more jobs lined up, then I'll probably be comfortable with doing that. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. We were hovering around peaking at 11. I know it's just kind of late. We don't organize it that well. We're trying to get The Serie A sit down fellas on next week, but Sant'Angelo is moving. So we'll see what the deal is there. We'll keep you guys updated. Hopefully we can go post-match tomorrow after Atalanta. We'll see about that. We'll see if we can get Sabrina on very soon, Miguel and others that we used to have. But yeah, I think it's going to go well. I think Milan are going to finally turn things around. I'm just super nervous about the Spurs tie. I really am, just because you never know what happens. I hate second legs being away games. But anyways, follow us on Twitter at Matt_Santangelo, at Martino Puccio. Follow us on Twitch. Give us your Twitch Prime sub if you have yet to do so. It's totally free. Santangelo, that also means you could do that on your Twitch account. So again, we really appreciate it. Everything that we get from the subs just goes back into the show. So we're already halfway to paying off everything. We're literally just paying off debts. It's so funny. But it's great. We really appreciate everybody. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram as well. Almost at 2,000 followers. Almost there.
Tell us if you guys want like different other content too that's maybe not like specifically dedicated to match day stuff. If you guys would enjoy like brief spurts of getting some more like Milan youth centered streams going on where we talk about some of the academy players, we have resources that can come on and shed some light on what's going on in the academy, because the academy, after some rough years, Martino, we got some good players in it. We got some good prospects. Players
too many injuries this year. It's frustrating.
But, there is some exciting talent to talk about. So if you guys have any other ideas or things you want us to talk about, maybe some guests to bring on, let us know on Twitter. Let us know why you guys are hopping into the stream, and look, we'll try to make it happen.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate all of you. Enjoy the match tomorrow. We'll talk. There's going to be halftime spaces as well. Other than that, I have nothing else to add. Yeah. Again, genuinely appreciate everyone.
Nice clean show.
Yeah, we went a little bit over.
But
that's okay. I mean, we went way over for the Cristiano one. We gotta get who we do plan on getting on soon as well.
Yeah.
Not Primavera prospects, Anthony. He was just asking about that. Yeah, we could have somebody on for that. Yeah. I want to really talk about Chaka Traore, and a couple of the other young blokes, Francesco Camarda, Denzel Seedorf, Maximilian Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
So we got some big youth names there.
Follows you, right? Follows you on Instagram.
If that's him, I kind of step back. I'm like, I don't know, because I saw another account that had under a few hundred followers, but Fabrizio Romano follows it, as well as Denzel Seedorf. So
probably that one.
Yeah, probably that one. So it wasn't the one that I thought, but oh well. I only showed it to a couple of people. I thought, I was like, hey, I got the like. But anyways, hey, I have gotten Tonali and Leao to comment on videos I've made in the past.
Cool.
So I don't give a shit.
That's cool.
So we'll see. We're just waiting for a follow back on one of these pages. But yeah, greatly appreciate everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Sant'Angelo, enjoy your 6 a.m. workout tomorrow morning. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for all the other shows.